Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you loved it so much that you came back for more. That was a brilliant decision. I'm going to tell you why, because we have a lot more for you. Now, how do we have so much more for you, folks? Because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters. It's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters, or at least this podcaster. And our guest today is amongst many, many other incredible things. Wait for it. She's a podcaster on top of everything else. That's right, folks. This is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing. Bring in our fantastic guest today. I have had the absolute wonderful, blessed opportunity to get to know this lady just a little bit before today's interview. And I love that she's decided to come on here and talk about all of her projects, including a podcast that's out now and maybe another one in the future. A little teaser. Who knows? We're going to find out. She's already smiling, going, wait, wait, wait. All right, here we go. So this lady is she's an author of three books: The Perfect Day Success Roadmap, The Notice and Wonder Journal, and A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts. She's also a speaker. She's been on some big stages, and I can't wait to talk about that with her. She is a podcaster, like we talked about. She's a co-host of the Big Ideas podcast, which is pretty cool. I kind of like it. I'm a little biased, but she also is a mindset and success coach, and a really, really good one. Folks, you're going to love this interview. Please welcome to the show, Jessica Broadway. Jessica, how you doing?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor to get to share the mic with you today.
Wow. All right. I appreciate that. Your 20 bucks is in the mail. Okay. For saying all that nice stuff. Don't worry. It's all good. All right. Jessica, my goodness, you have so much going on. First, did I get the names of the books right? Because my goodness, I can't even read my own handwriting.
You sure did. Yep.
Wonderful.
Nailed it.
All right. You are quite the author. Okay. Well, you're quite a lot of things, but I love what you're doing here. You've got a mission that I not only sort of reside right alongside, but that I just really adore. And I love what you're doing and why you're doing it and everything else. So I want people to be able to hear about this. I want to get into all this stuff. More than all that, out the window with all that stuff. Here we go. Who is Jessica Broadway? Tell us a little bit about you, your past, how you got started, what got you into all this stuff?
Man, how much time do we have, right?
Good answer. Good answer.
I think I've been everything under the sun and many versions of myself. I affectionately say I am a multi-passionate enthusiast of life. And, I've always had this desire to create and build and make an impact. My first business was doing car washes to raise money for exotic fish that we wanted to buy. Like way back then, I knew you need to have a why in order to have a mission to tell people things. And no one really taught me that. It just kind of was like, well, we can't just go say we want to wash cars and make money. We have to have like a bigger thing behind this. And they had this thing out called Quest, and you could collect these like adventures of things. And that particular month happened to be exotic coral reefs and saving the fish. So that's what we did. And I think I was maybe 12. And me and the neighbor kid, we just went and washed people's cars for some money to buy more Quest books to learn more about, saving the planet. And that's kind of like the early phases of my desire to make an impact or to do things and to leverage a skill set with a mission and make an impact in the world. And that's just kind of been the journey from there. There's been many iterations of that. Motherhood gave me a whole nother level of experience and life and just ability to really transition from like the workforce into from the private sector and the workforce into more of a home-based business and getting a message out through that and learning the dynamics of entrepreneurs through that and raising a family and juggling entrepreneurship and all of those kinds of things. And so if I was going to sum myself up, I'd say that I am a creative who is enthusiastic about helping others create what they wish existed.
I love that. You know what? That I didn't know how you were going to end it. I'm like, all right, I don't know where she's going
Where's she
exactly,
going? Where's she
but
going?
I'm letting her go because I know it's going to be great. I love that. That was such a summation. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And I mean, there's a million different things that we could pull out of this. I mean, you really unloaded a lot at the beginning, which is perfect. I gotta start here though. Exotic fish? Is
I
that
don't
something
even
you're
like
interested in?
fish. I don't even eat fish. I don't even, no, it's not even a thing. But we wanted to get a fish tank, and I thought that, I wanted to have a pet fish. And I liked the exotic ones because they're much prettier than just the plain, just regular fish at the pet store. And I'm not really sure how like it all came together, but like I said, we would go by. So I grew up in Scotland, and I would walk home down this main street, and they were called the packy stores, the little like package store that you could go buy little trinkets and things like that in, and newspapers, and back in that day, if you needed to, your mother's cigarettes. So it was in the 90s and the late 80s. So, you could go in there and say, not that I did that. I'm just saying that was an era in and of itself. But we would stop by every Friday. They'd have a new version of this quest book, and you got like the binder, and you would add like sections of it. And one day we got inspired that we were going to save the fish. So that's what we did.
Again, every time I turn a corner with you, there's something else that's like dropping in front of me. I'm going to have to fire my research assistant like right now. I'm sorry, but if it wasn't me, I would fire them already. But you grew up in Scotland?
Yeah, born and raised. Yeah,
You were born in Scotland.
born and raised till I was 12.
How did I
Yes.
not know that? Oh my gosh.
I don't
What
know. You
brought you
missed the
folks here?
memo.
I totally missed the memo. What brought you folks over here? I just kind of start there and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, migrating. So my dad and my mom met on the mission field. My dad did church planting back in the early or late, I guess, 70s, early 80s. And my mom was part of a mission team. They married and decided to raise a family there. They spent 20 plus years church planting all over Scotland. And then when we started evolving and, teenage years were coming, I'm the oldest of five, and we moved when I was 13 to the States. And interestingly enough, um, I used to say for quite a long time we moved back to the States, but it wasn't until later, I realized like that was my first time moving to the States. I didn't move back to anywhere. I was born in Scotland. So it was an interesting identity shift there of navigating what it's like to claim your parents' culture and like being a third culture kid. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that terminology, but when your parents have one culture, you're born in another culture, and the third culture is the one that combines both of those. And it's an interesting journey navigating that as a missionary kid, and um, changing your entire country, leaving everything that you've known and starting over.
I mean that's enough. Just being the missionary kid is a whole other life, on
Whole
top of
nother
everything else.
life.
But you're doing
Yeah.
it, in two different countries for crying out loud. I mean, that's
Mhm.
really amazing that you're able to do that. I can only imagine how different that must have been. And again, that's not what this episode's about. I can't wait to dive into this, 10 other ways, but maybe you can sum it up. Was there one or two things that were sort of like the biggest, obstacles, maybe hurdles or toughest things to kind of get used to in the change?
Um, Yes, there was one significant change was our family went through quite a significant change when we went from my dad being on the mission field, and he was gone a lot, raising support, at the church, all that. And then moving to the States, there was like a completely different dynamic because he was a preacher at one congregation that was paying his salary. So he had a lot more time freedom for the family, but the dynamic was not set up for that. And so we went through this shift of awkwardness of like dad being home all the time, which is great, but it changed the flow and the pattern. And I just remember being frustrated, not being able to figure out like what's our new normal. I really wanted a new normal to exist and like predictability, because you leave everything. We moved to the States and he didn't have a job yet. So, because it was hard to do international stuff like that. So we lived with my grandparents for a summer and he went and toured like the country looking at different preaching jobs. So when we settled, I just remember craving a sense of normalcy. And I really wish what we'd have had back then was a transitional period. So as a grief specialist, I study a lot about loss and the impact of loss. And one of these categories that's really under discussed is transitional loss, the loss that you experience when you transition from one season of life to another. And I wish there had been an incubator of sorts that our hosting mission family had sponsored a period of time for us to reconnect as a family and figure out what our new roles in the relationships were and how we were going, what our plan was for building a life going forward and what this new season of life was like. But we moved here, dad left. We stayed, in transit for a while and he went all over for probably several months. And then we finally landed in Florida. So I went from an international European education right into middle school in seventh grade, failed American history, still get anxiety saying the Pledge of Allegiance today.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was really stressful. There was no transitional period for helping us antiquate or acclimate as a family. So that was probably the thing that looking back, if I had the time to start a new mission and a new ministry, that's always been a dream of mine is to provide some respite and transitional care for missionary families.
Nice, nice, incredible story, and more of the stuff you've had to overcome in your life.
Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot. Kudos to you for handling it all. I have a question because, and this is totally off the cuff, so feel free to answer this or not. All right, but I hear this a lot, and I've gone through a lot of these sort of growth patterns, and I've learned a lot of these things too, listening to people like you, reading books like what you have out. And my wife and I kind of look back and go, we wish we could have, or if we would have known, that type of thing. Um, do you have any advice for people who are kind of feeling that so that maybe they don't get upset about that kind of thing? Because I guess the way I look at it is like, did we do the best we could back
Mm,
then? Because, could you do better if you didn't have the knowledge you have now, looking back on it? I mean, your mom and dad didn't know anything about this, right? Didn't
no.
even occur to them. It hadn't even really been uncovered or discovered yet.
I think I understand the question. I'll give you the answer and you can ask some clarification.
Okay.
What I see happen a lot of times is that people allow the past to hijack the present. And so it creates this kind of prison of endless things you wish were better, more, or different about the past. And there's some shame that's inherent with that because there's really at the core of it, there's a loss of resources, knowledge, relationship losses driving that pattern. And because we don't have really effective tools, or if you're lacking effective tools for recognizing that it's a response to the loss and the things you wish you could change, then you can close the gap and you can create some like I didn't know better then. I do know better now. So the and becomes now that I know better, I can do better. And what am I going to do to retroactively share that advice with someone? Find someone that is in that season that you could lend that wisdom to. But the thing that we have to accept as a totality, the high level, is that it's no one's fault. It's called a casualty of life. And in our shame cycling, we want to assign blame because that helps us channel the frustration and find a reason why it happened. And the reason why doesn't matter as much as what are you going to do about it now that you have the insight of it. So I like to say that all blame is a waste of time and that safe sharing begins where the shame ends. So we have to end the shame cycle about the things that we messed up in and we have to embrace those, get complete with them, do that work to heal. That's the bravest work you'll ever do. And then have the courage to act and to change those patterns of behavior and share that journey with other people.
Love that answer. Like exactly what I was looking for. Thank you for that. And I appreciate you fielding the question off the cuff, sort of out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
for sure.
You guys all know at this point, if you ever listen to one of my podcasts before, and I think most of you have, I don't prep anybody for anything. It's all totally natural. So they have no idea what's coming when I throw the stuff at them. So nice job. That was wonderful. Now, in your books, these seem like they're on fairly different topics. Do you cover that type of thing in your books? You tell me about those.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. They are different and the same. So
Another great answer. All right, go.
as people follow me, they'll learn that I have a t-shirt design that'll be coming out later this year, that's called Create More and Moments. And so, like I mentioned earlier, our brain wants to go either or and like double down on that. But as you heal, you learn about integrating the past and the future, and you learn to live in the present. So you create more and moments. It's I'm happy and I'm sad. I'm disappointed and hopeful for the future, right? That duality allows us to hold multiple truths at once. So, as I wrote A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts, that was a big thing for me in my journey of starting to tell the story. And I happened to be sitting in a chair rocking my newborn baby at the time, and I had lost my voice due to a herniated blood vessel during my pregnancy. And I finally I was so frustrated. I had this new baby. I can't sing to him. I can't barely talk. It's very whisper. Just I've a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I feel very unsafe in my brain and my body. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't even, like, if there's an emergency, I couldn't even yell to you. And as I'm sitting there rocking him, I throw my hands up and I just said, "All right, Lord." And obviously by now in the episode, I'm a talker. I said, if you're not going to let me talk, what do you have to say? I'm listening. And I felt this just rush all over my body. And he said, "It's time to tell the story." And I was like, "Great. What story do you want me to tell?" And he said, "Time to tell the story." And that was it. That's all I got. And so I made a promise that day that I would keep telling stories about the lessons that I learned in my life. And so A Journey to Raising Brave Hearts is the stories that accumulated and the lessons I learned that helped me rise out of the ashes of the things that have held me back and embrace my brave, to create what I wish existed. And then there's a part in that that teaches us the social impact of it's not just about me being brave, but how do I notice Rory, and how do I wonder what does Rory's brave look like, and how do I call out to that and invite you to be brave with me? So there's like this intersection of bringing ourselves and our communities together and rising. And then notice and wonder is a framework that I use to help people unhook from those spiraling things. So as a neuroscience coach, a lot of the brain-based strategies I try to incorporate and connect emotion into logic and bring those together to create results and breakthroughs. So, Notice and Wonder is a 10-day guided process of creating curiosity instead of criticism about your life. So, you might say to yourself, instead of "I'm horrible at this," I would say, "I notice I'm not getting the results that I want, and I wonder what it would look like, or what am I missing to bridge the gap for myself." Is it knowledge based? Is it belief based? Is it resource based? What is it? When we create curiosity, then we can create results. But when we are spiraling in shame or we're criticizing ourselves, we're not going to move anywhere. So, Notice and Wonder is about that framework, that mindset that helps you start practicing it and creating curiosity about your life and logging the data that creates your habits. If you don't have the successful outcome, it's because your habits aren't aligned with your purpose, and there might be some deeper work there. And then the roadmap, the perfect day is really about feeling better, thinking better, and living better. So if you feel better, you'll be able to think better. If you think better, you'll be able to live better. And I co-wrote that with, I actually my co-host on Big Ideas, Justin Gabossi. He's a human optimization coach. And so he covers the feeling better daily strategies. I cover obviously the thinking better. And then we integrate a section together about boundaries and how to advocate for yourself and live a better, more full life. So they are related, but very topically different, and intersect, I think, pretty well.
Boom. Love it. Okay. I got it. The notice and wonder sounds like you're creating your own action steps. Am I kind of getting that
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Okay. So you're creating the plan in
The
a lot
plan.
of ways for yourself to then follow.
Hmm.
All right. And that is actually a journal in
Yeah.
terms of like being a book. Okay. Wonderful. All right. So why? Why write this stuff down? Why start writing these books? Um, God says to you, it's time to tell the story. That can take a million different avenues. Why sit down and write the books and put all this into writing and go that direction?
I was wondering if you'd make me get emotional. Um, I'll tell you a story first to tell you the answer.
Okay.
Um, when my dad passed away, that was one of the things I missed the most was hearing his wisdom and just getting the messages and wondering what he would do in situations. And I missed that. I missed it a lot. And I didn't want that for my kids. It was selfish. I didn't want there to be some situation where I wasn't there with them. And I wanted to tell the stories. I wanted to leave a legacy. I lost two really important men in my life, my grandfather and my father, within 13 months. And the whole dynamics of our family shifted. And I found myself longing that, man, I just wish they had like written stuff down. They were so good at speaking and telling you things, and those things will live in my heart forever. Um, but if there was one thing I wish they had done, I wish they had written a guide or something, you know. So, and writing is a way for me to self-express. It's something I can do whether I'm rocking a baby or cleaning, you know, toilets. I can think about ideas and then I can write them down. And I don't always love the speaking part of it, even though I really do love that as well. I love communicating, but it's circumstantial. You know, it's like, do you get the gig? Do you do this? Can you get in front of the people? You know, am I having a bad hair day? You know, does my skin broke out? You know, there's so many things. I can write in my pajamas. I can write at 5 a.m. I can write at midnight. And so it's a poetic release for me. And I hope that it's of value to my children and the legacy that I want to leave behind, to encourage other people to be brave enough to create what they wish existed. They don't have to settle for the default version of life.
Wow. I thank you for sharing that. And clearly that was not the easiest thing in the world to share, but um, you've literally been called to share this story though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing with us and my audience. That was awesome. Yeah. Take a minute. You're good. You're good. I got you. See, I warned you to have a beverage before this, right? And so
Yeah, it's
you've got it
great.
with you now. You're good to go. All right. Love what you're doing with the books. Absolutely love the mission. The this is the part of the podcast where normally I will go, man, you really need to have a podcast. You know, on some of my other shows. On this show, I'll be like, well, then that's where the podcast comes from. All right,
Yeah.
but we're gonna have to come back to that in a
Okay.
second. So I'm just letting everybody know, hey, I didn't fall off my rocker. I'm still on. Don't worry, everything's good, everybody. You are part of this group of people. You mentioned Justin, right, that you work
Mhm.
with. You're part of this group of people on this really cool show called Big Ideas Podcast. Tell us kind of the genesis of that. How did that come to be? And, then what's it about?
You know, most great things I do or adventurous things I do is mostly because I had an idea and I just wanted to see what would happen. And I find myself spending time with people who also think like that. And Mark and Justin are dear friends. We've worked together, we've been friends together. And one day we were kind of sitting around, and I won't spoil the show for people, but we were like, you know what? We actually have some really good conversations. You know, I think people would like to hear what it sounds like for us to talk just about anything. And, you know, we all have big things going on in our lives. Justin sold everything that he owns and he's a world traveler. Mark is the CEO of Gig Salad that he took from, you know, humble startup to a Fortune 500 company that is the largest online talent platform for not only people who are looking to book talent, but for talent to list themselves there. And then I've got my coaching and consulting and my writing. And these are big ideas that were one conceptual that we had the courage to act on. And these decisions do shape our lives significantly. And we felt like maybe some other people would like to borrow some of our courage and see us go from we don't know anything to whatever this turns out to be. It may just be an episode in time, this little snapshot of someone learning how to be really bad, going from really bad to somewhat decent, It might be blow up and have millions and sponsorships. We have no idea and we're unattached to the outcome, but we're very committed to demonstrating what going from being brave to being courageous looks like, to bridging that gap of I feel brave in myself, I've done the work, but I didn't take any action with it. And this is all about, like the things that we do and the big ideas. And so, yeah, we literally, our first episode was us all sitting on a couch. And I'm pretty sure if you go watch the episode, you will laugh, roll your eyes, don't watch it on 1.5 speed because we talk way too fast and just have some fun. And, one thing about that episode, I was like, people are going to laugh for one of two reasons. One, um, that they just find us endearing. Two, they're laughing at us. And in that case, that's on you. But if you laugh at all, then I've accomplished my mission is to bring more laughter and more joy into the world. And if you watch me be bad at something and it gives you the courage to do your thing, and if you look at me and you say, dang, if she can do it, so can I, then I've done my job, right? And so it's so messy. And thankfully you have helped us wrangle the wild horses into some sort of a semblance of order. But, it's fun. And the first episode, you can literally hear me say, I guess we should just push play, right? And we left it all unedited so people could truly see what it's like. And instantly the name came because right outside Mark's bathroom in his office, there's a sign that says, "This is where big ideas happen."
I love the whole thing. I really do. You guys are amazing to work with, and you're all such powerful individuals, all
Mhm.
three of you, and in your own ways, which is just this very unique dynamic. Folks, I got to tell you, I recommend the show, Big Ideas Podcast. You got to check it out. It is fairly new. I think you're approaching 20 episodes right now as this is recorded,
Yeah,
right? Okay,
12 episodes. Yeah.
right, and more recorded. All
Hmm.
right, so give yourself credit. You're killing it right now. You're doing great. But honestly, it's three incredibly strong people who have some similarities that bring them together, but then some very marked differences that add to and don't take away from the whole dynamic and the whole makeup. It's a really fun show to like listen to and maybe come up with some new ideas and stuff like that. And also to get to know the characters because these three people, I mean, are worth getting to know. They really are. So that's my ad plug for the show.
Thank you. Thank
For
you.
everybody listening. Now, this does not mean turn off Podcaster Nation to watch this show, okay? But it is a good show. So when you're done with our show and my other nine, then go watch theirs. It's no, I'm just kidding. It's fantastic. It really is. But it's been really cool as I've watched the episodes to watch you guys just come together in a lot of different ways. You can tell you're all very good friends to begin with, and there's a certain amount of, just really liking each other. It's a very good feel to the show. But you really complement one another in the conversations. Also, what has that been like for you? And I know you can't speak to the other two, fellas in this conversation. What's it been like for you, not only, confronting this and the bravery and now the courageous part of putting it in action, but in sort of the morphing of your relationship behind the scenes? What's that been like for you so far?
It's been the most vulnerable, hard work I've done in a while.
Wow.
Really, truly. Um, when growth seasons are um, unique. They all stand alone. This one, I particularly feel like it has been another layer of vulnerability because you're having to hold two truths again, like this duality of we're friends and I'm mad at you today.
Fair.
Let me
Okay.
define mad at you today, right? Like we have to work on the what everyone's best operating system is, like how they function the best. And then how do we function together as a group? It's one thing if you're just having a chat with a friend and you leave, but then it would be like planning the next time that you were getting together with your friend, and one person has one style of organization, another person has another style, and then there's a third dynamic. So it's not just like, let's figure it. It's three different learning styles, three different communication styles, three different organizational styles. And so there is so much work that goes into building the relationship on the side and forging that trust between each other, that you can get on and trust that the other two people are going to engage in the conversation too. You have to learn real time how to work together in a way that adds meaning and value, and that's so rare. Most relationships are transactional, not value based. And so and that transactional, by the way, is not a bad thing. It just means you have something for me, I have something from you, and we're exchanging that. I contribute, you contribute, we're in and out, and then we move
Yeah.
on. When there's value driven relationships, it goes deeper. It's like, what do we share in the shared values? Where do we disagree? How do we resolve conflict? There's equity in the relationship more than just the moment of interaction. And so when you bring that dynamic and you put a mic in front of it, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes to continue to build that so that it shows up harmoniously on the mic as well. And that's been vulnerable. You have to advocate for what you want and share your bad days. And you can't just say, okay, see you next Tuesday at work. Like this, there's some transparency and give and take, and really digging deep to build the relationships so that we can work together and share our value with the world.
Love that. And that's kind of the behind the scenes thing. So,
Yeah.
now, in the interest of time, I do want to get a little podcasty on us,
Yeah.
right? So let's talk some nuts and bolts. It's unique to have three people
Hmm. Hmm.
that are all part of a podcast. You would essentially have three hosts. You essentially, at any one moment, could have three guests, just in terms of the dynamic. And I know that's something you guys have been working through, and so on. What kind of challenges come along with that, and how have you so far sort of navigated? How do we organize the show with three people who all want to, talk and also all want to listen?
Yeah. So obviously being new, and thanks to you, you gave us some really that when we first started meeting with you, we had zero structure. We had the concept of a host, like someone's going to do the intro, but we did not have any concept of what does a host actually mean and what's the roles and responsibilities of that. And so defining each person's roles and their responsibilities has been really key to making a successful episode. There's this balance of learning forcing yourself out of your comfort zone to try on a different role. Um, and then also realizing that just because you're not good at that role you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can blend what you're naturally gifted at and then also stretch yourself to learn a new skill set. And so that's been really important. To be open-minded and then to be okay not being good at something. That's difficult for someone who's a high achiever and who likes to master things before they tell anybody about them. So
Mm. Wow.
just be willing to like not be good at something. I think that's probably what I would tell people. And that nuts and bolts thing is like, just because you're not good at it doesn't mean you can't do podcasting. It just means there's a different structure for you. And that's why I think having a coach is so important in those early foundational moments of building a podcast, because you don't have too many bad habits already learned. And you can kind of unlearn some stuff and plug those holes with things that are going to really take you the longevity of a show.
Well, thank you for that plug. Also,
Yeah.
so it has
Coach
been an
gets
absolute.
coached. That's funny.
It's I mean, coaches understand the need for coaching. That's why we go
Yes,
get
we
coaches.
do.
Exactly. So, no, I totally understand. But it's been an absolute pleasure coaching, with the three of you and building this thing with you. The So right now it's coming together. The numbers are coming up. You guys are doing a really good job of building it. What have you used to kind of build it, to kind of get the name out there a little bit? How has that gone, and what are you doing?
Well, the nice thing is I think collectively between the three of us, we have anywhere from seven, I know this is a large range, but 7 to 9,000 followers on social media. So having a tripod allows us to collaborate on different audiences and to take turns sharing the load of social media promotion. So that's been really good. Word of mouth, like anytime anybody says, "What do you got going on new in your life?" They know that's like a normal question to ask me. I'll say, I have a podcast I just launched called Big Ideas. So there's a fair amount of word of mouth advertisement that we're doing, bringing it up in conversation, and then also through social media and just getting the word out that way and having friends share it. I think something else that's really important too is letting our friends and family, or myself, letting my friends and family know that it was coming and encouraging them to share it when you do see something. Hey, I know that you may not listen. This may not be your thing, but I'd appreciate you sharing it with your audience because that helps us amplify and magnify our impact. And that's a really key thing is to have that transparent conversation with your friends and family and just ask for what you need.
Yeah, I love that. And that's very strategic too. And that's something that I've coached for a long time. I'm not sure I ever told you that. I think you came up with that on your own though.
Yeah.
Because friends and family will almost never listen to your
Yeah.
podcast, but they will share it and act as if they listened. And because they want to support you. You know what I mean? But yeah, they'll rarely actually click on it and listen to the
And
podcast.
this may
Moms
be
sometimes.
something for your audience. It certainly has been important for me in this multiple platforms that I do show up in. And I
Mhm.
mean platforms like my volunteer work, my ministry work, like those kind of platforms. And when people are looking and they're curious about you and what you're going on, if they know you, they also see whether or not your friends and family support you. And so, at bare minimum, having that transparent conversation with, I don't expect you to listen to it, but please don't scroll past it because you're signaling to other people that I have your support. And I know I have your support behind closed doors, but it really matters on an open media platform that other people see that I have your support. It's like you're standing up and saying, I'm with her, even if you're, not reading the stuff, which I don't expect them to do. My husband hasn't even read my book. And when I was going to publish it, I was like, "Do you want to read this?" And he was like, "No, I lived it." You're like, that's the mindset for a family is they've watched you grow. That's okay. They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But in this public age of social media, everybody is watching and they're looking, does this person have credibility? So private conversation with your friends and family is saying, "Hey, this is how you can support me because everybody's watching." And I think that's a missing piece. They expect family to just know that, but they don't. They don't understand that this is the public facing now requires their engagement because it's an endorsement of you.
I love that. It sounds like, even outside of podcasting, that's probably really good advice in terms of how you deal with your family. Have the
Mhm.
conversation about what you need. Don't just assume they know.
For sure.
Yeah, that's really
Sure.
cool, though. I love that you put it with that. Do you guys use AI in any of the work that you do?
Uh,
Oh, confessions are coming now. Oops, I can't tell the coach that
no,
I.
no. Here's where I think AI plays a role in helping you hone your craft. It is a great sidekick. It's a great editor. It's a great sparring partner for argument's sake. I love to say, play the adversarial role here and make me defend myself. And so it can help you brainstorm and work through concepts that you might be, have a little bit of word salad going on with your words and getting articulate on what it is you mean. And are you saying what you mean? And meaning what you say. So for some consistency there, I think there's a dangerous line between using it as to think for you or come up with concepts for you to discuss. So it's great for demographic studies. So I don't personally use it for that, but I do, if I'm curious about some demographic studies or a market that might be underserved, I use it for that collaboration to learn more, but I would never outsource my thinking to it. It's very dangerous water, and usually the output becomes very diluted and isn't substantial, and it's not doesn't set you up to be able to defend the concepts that you're talking about. And besides that, I don't think you need it. If you're talking about your life, you are the expert on your life. You're the one that lived it. You're present with all of your thoughts, your memories, your experiences. And if you're being authentic and you're telling your story to make the world a better place, then you shouldn't need AI to come up with that.
Nice. You are the expert on your own life. I mean, boom, there you go. That's the end of the story. Thank
Yeah.
you, because that was a very very sensitive, very well thought out, and very politically correct response to that question. So thank you for that. You just made everybody happy, and you didn't offend
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
Right, and you didn't put yourself in any trouble. So that's really good. All right, we're going to move on from this AI question. You guys all know how I feel about AI.
I
All
don't.
right. Uh, you're just going to have to go with the context clues because I have another question for you. So it is time for my corny question now. And I know
Okay.
you listen to this podcast all the time and you know the corny question and you already have an answer all ready for it. So I can't wait to hear this. Um, Corny question for you right now. When you're doing your podcast, okay, that's the framing of the question. In regard to doing the podcast, what is the thing about doing the podcast that you love the most? And what is it about doing the podcast that you just absolutely, positively throw it out the window, cannot stand the most?
Oh, I love the thing I love the most is not needing permission to share my ideas.
Awesome. Expand on that a little bit because that's just, I don't think I've ever
I
gotten that answer before. Almost 200 episodes.
there's like this is my mic. And that's all I need to share my ideas with the world. I don't need anyone's permission. And it's what I love about writing and about social media now is that you think you need permission to tell your story. You think you need 100 degrees to be able to tell somebody what it's like to live in a neurodivergent brain. You think you need all these things. There's the thinking has got you imprisoned. And the thing I love about podcasting is that I just get to plug in a mic and I can share my ideas and I don't need anyone's permission to do it. We are blessed to live in a country that supports freedom of speech. And there's a lot of people that are unintentionally muting themselves because of what other people think. So it's okay to care about what people think, and you shouldn't let what people think hold you back.
All right. That's a mic drop. I love that. All right. And the other side of the question.
The thing I don't like the most is probably the marketing of it. I wish that you could just drop it in there and it just magically found its way. I don't like it feels like sometimes a stack deck, with the algorithms being what they are. And you could make yourself, there's like infinite possibilities of what you could tweak and what you could do better. And I just want to share my message with the world and hope it lands where it's meant to land.
Love that. Okay. Fair. Very fair. And I'm glad that you didn't say the part you dislike the most is the coach you're working with, because then we would have not have been able to use this episode. So I really appreciate you, keeping our content straight.
Of course, of course.
But, you brought up something just now that I want to dig into quickly, and that is that you brought up social media a couple times. You talked about Stack Deck, just now. And then earlier, when you were talking about how you're sharing and you don't have to have permission, you said, I don't have permission to do it here and here and social media now. So were you on social media feeling that way before, the way you just described, like you
Mhm.
couldn't really share yourself? And were you one of those people that were muting yourself?
Yes and no. So there is, yes, there was a season where I felt, and I still do feel, that there are consequences. So you can say whatever you want, but not everything you say is consequence free. There are
Right.
real consequences to the things that you say. And when you don't take the time to honor that you're struggling with that, or you don't get to the heart of it, you can end up posturing yourself or getting entrenched in the hustle culture of fake it till you make it and just trying to perform your way through. And I don't align with that mindset. I don't think you should fake it till you make it. I feel like if anything, you should do the work to heal the parts of you that are stopping you from sharing your message first. If you're going to turn your pain into purpose, there's a bridge in the middle. The into is internal work that you have to do in order for that pain to come out as purpose instead of just really mad at the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there's been seasons where I've had to go withdraw from social media to do some internal work. Maybe this season of my life has revealed areas that I need to do work on or something like that. So I think there's a healthy balance there of saying, I'm going to take a step back. I'm working on something, do the work and then tell the story, so to speak. And there's a space for organic growth, but we do have people that exploit and weaponize vulnerability. And I'm a really big protector of vulnerability. And so I don't feel like everything you share, everything you go through needs to be shared on social media. There's a difference for me. So having permission to say whatever you want and embracing that and having the confidence to say it isn't the same thing as I need to tell everything that's going on in my whole process. Some of that stuff is just, it's not for everybody. And it's very vulnerable work, and it would hurt you and it would hurt other people if you were to put that out into a platform that it could be turned against you at some point. Does that make sense?
100%. Absolutely. Everything you just said makes total sense. And I think that there are so many more people who feel the way you do than don't feel that way. I think more people align with that in terms of how they feel about being on social media. Everybody has kind of an obstacle to overcome in some way. Everybody wants to use it for some purpose. And I think there's a lot of that. So you're certainly not alone in
Yeah.
feeling that way. But something changed, and now you feel like you can share a little more.
Mhm. So I've been sharing it all seasons. If you want to go look at my Instagram and my Facebook, you can see all the reels, the cringy ones, the good ones. You can see them all. And I left them all there so that you could see every season of growth. And I'm not ashamed of the good, the bad, the ugly. I share a lot of things. Um, but one thing in particular, I think I want to point out is that you should be very careful about whether or not you have bought into the concept of imposter syndrome. Because that's something that people say is the reason they get held back is, oh, I'm struggling with imposter syndrome. And they've kind of commingled some ideology there. And the permission to be there or to take up space, like that's what we've kind of framed is like that you just don't feel like you belong there. And so they start working on their courage and their confidence. And that's actually very few people don't feel like they deserve to be there. If they have that desire to be there, they're like, I have that desire. So why am I having this resistance? I can't get quite through it. And as your nervous system's trying to regulate that, I can't differentiate. So what's really happening is that you're experiencing something new for the first time. So try saying to yourself, it's not that I don't belong here, it's that I've never been here before, and see how the energy shifts. See how it shifts and allows you to step into that. That may take you more time. You might have to be patient with yourself. But just because you've never been here before doesn't disqualify you from being here. And that's that nuanced space I think that we're missing in that conversation of helping people do the inner work, because that's a reflective piece then. Okay, so I've never been here before. Then what do I notice about it? What am I wondering about it? And how can I bridge the gap for myself so I feel more confident stepping into the unknown?
Every podcaster listening to this right now is going, huh, all right, maybe I should get this book.
Yeah, you do deserve to be there. You do. You've just never been there before. And that's a different feeling.
Wonderful.
That
I
means you're
love that.
pioneering. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and you would know a little about that. So,
It
all
is.
right. All right. Very, very cool. Just a couple more questions. You've been very generous with your time. Thank you for being on here for as long as you have. Normally, I've, closed this out by now, but just so many
Oh,
questions kept popping up with you that I wanted to keep. I've taken this off script, so it's on me, but I appreciate you being such a great sport about it. Let me, before I kind of hit these last couple of points, I want to make sure I don't miss, how do people find you? So how do people get to Jessica Broadway?
you can go to jessicabroadway.com, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as Jessica Broadway. Surprise. And it's my name everywhere. So I'm on all the platforms that you would do your social media scrolling. You can find me on the YouTube with the Big Ideas podcast. You can follow that there, or on Spotify or Apple. And then coming soon, the Jessica Broadway Show at some point.
Ooh,
Stay tuned for that launch. But follow along. Yeah, just I would say connect with me on socials to stay updated on all the things Jessica Broadway.
All right, you jumped me because my next to last question was, I know there's something else coming. Do you want to tease it and talk about it? Give everybody a little idea of what the vision may be right now for the Jessica Broadway show.
So I love my multi-passionate life. It's a little bit of everything. I've lived a little bit of lots of things. World traveler, entrepreneur, startups, failed businesses, business losses, parenting, wifery. Is that a word?
It
Being a
is now.
wife, the art of being a wife. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, and I have a phrase that life is now in session, and there's a lot to talk about. And so I want to have conversations about everything from motherhood to menopause, from finances to your faith, from and the ever-changing face of entrepreneurship. So we'll have some little fun things like podcasts and pancakes, life of a mother and entrepreneur. A lot of little segments, so you can expect kind of like the umbrella and then all of these little offshoots, topical offshoots that I feel like are good conversations to be able to have with people. And my hope is that they just bring them some encouragement and endurance for the journey that they're on, and that they come have a little cup of coffee with me and have a chat.
So perfect. All right. I appreciate you sharing that. It's not out yet. Okay. But it
Not
will
out yet.
be when it is. Just pay attention to our social media. We will absolutely be promoting that podcast when it comes out. Okay. Jessica's one of us. So we're going to make sure that we keep getting her out there. And I expect all of you folks out there in the Podcaster Nation army to, support her like we do each other. That's what we do here. Okay. We all come together to raise each other up. That's the idea. Last question. I'm going to let you go. You've been given advice through this entire program. You've given some fantastic advice to people as we have gone. I'm going to let you give one more. And so the question is what we usually end with when it comes to podcasting in general, because even though you haven't been doing it that long, you've learned a lot. I've witnessed some of it. So when it comes to podcasting, what's the best piece of advice you can give to podcasters who are out there who are simply not quite where you are yet?
As cliche as it sounds, just do it. The only thing that you can't uh, think your way through courage. You can't make a plan for courage. All you can do is do it. My friend Susan, she does cartwheels everywhere she goes. She's, I think, 67 now, and that's like her thing. She does cartwheels. And courage is like a cartwheel. You cannot do a cartwheel thinking about it. You can't plan out the cartwheel. You just have to do it and then let the momentum carry you through. And that's a similar thing with podcasting is that you can't just think about it. You can't theorize about it. I talked to somebody the other day and they said, "Oh, doing a podcast is on my bucket list." And I was like, "Oh, well, we've learned a ton. You want to come talk? Let's chat. Let's talk." And she's like, "Well," and she gave me all the data. And she gave me her that she's got 50 episodes planned out and she'll be launching later this year. And she's got all the demographics and the research done. And I immediately was like, oh, dang, you know what you're doing. But then I realized that done is better than perfect. And I've already got 12 episodes published and more in the can, and he hasn't even started yet. So, like, done is better than perfect. Do it. You don't need permission. You just need to do it and let the momentum carry you through.
Boom. Another mic drop moment. I knew you'd have another really good one right there. And it was funny because that even got better as you went. It started off like, okay, pretty good advice. And it was like, man, that's great advice when you were done. That was awesome. All right, folks, mindset and success coach, amongst so many other things, a speaker, author of these magnificent books, and a podcast host, co-host of the Big Ideas podcast, and host of the soon-to-be released Jessica Broadway Show. Jessica Broadway, Jessica, thank you for being here today, for sharing everything that you did. And being as open and vulnerable as you were. I know a lot of people learned from you today. And you, as always, are setting an example for everybody else out there who's listening. Thank you for being here today on my show.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, this has been another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. And the reason why we have such powerful podcasters on here is because this is the place. This is the podcast that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters, and it's done by a podcaster. I think we proved yet again today, folks, that this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.